Hey, I've been home for a few days now. No more running around and whatnot. You can see my beautiful hat. Oh, and I found my old Fitbit. Gonna see if I can start using it until I buy my new one. Um, but I've been lazy for the past couple of days because that trip to New York, oh my God, I had so many NSVs. Let me tell you. It still hasn't processed here the size that I am, in the sense that we decided not to take the car this time to New York. We decided let's take the train. So, it was an adventure. It was just the two of us. Our girls were home. They were doing their own thing. So we said, okay, let's just take this trip over to New York to see your sisters. One of them had just arrived from Dominican Republic. She's here for the next month, and I'm not going to be able to see her after surgery. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel. So I said, let's go there before I have the surgery. So we went and let's see, we took a train and transferred to another train. Then we transferred to a bus. On the train and on the bus, those seats are not made for $2.99 me. They're made for someone that's a lot smaller. So when we went on that train the first time, I said, oh, there's enough space for me to sit. And I just sat down and I told my husband, sit across from me because I don't want nobody's legs touching my legs. I would rather have a stranger sit next to me than sitting across from me. It just doesn't feel right for me. It's like you're in my intimate space. So anyway, he sat across from me and it felt good because I had all this space. And then we went on the bus, and when we got on the bus, I was a little scared because the bus was kind of full, and he said, sit, sit, sit. And so I looked at the people there, and I'm like, I'm comfortable standing. And my husband's like, he kind of shoved me a little bit, and I kind of felt like, okay, I'll sit. And I sat down, and the person next to me was apologizing profusely about taking up space. And I went, no need to apologize. It's okay. And because I felt like I was one taking up all the space. And then we got up and we went to the next, I think it was a train. We took a train, and I told my husband, how long is it from here to the next stop? And he's like, the next stop. I was like, okay, fine. Then I'm not gonna sit. I'm comfortable standing. And he was like, looked at me weirdly and said, okay. So I stood and we went, and I sat down at my sister-in-law's place, and we talked about what we were going to do. And all I kept thinking about was the distance, and how we're going to get there, because I wanted to know New York streets. When you say one block, it feels like a mile or two. Here in Connecticut, blocks are literally just feet away, there's just these small blocks, but not so in New York. It feels like it's a mile or two for one block. So he's like, we're just gonna walk, and I'm like, okay, fine. And so we walked and walked and walked, and then the gentleman that's going to be my new brother-in-law, he says, let's take the train to such and such place. So we're like, okay. So we jumped on the train, and there, he said, it's going to take several stops before we actually get to the stop we need. My husband looks at me, and for me to go sit down. And I'm like, no, there's just too many people. And he's like, go sit. And I'm like, nope. And so he stands next to me, and he gives me this kind of nudge to sit. And I was like, caught off guard, and I sat down thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to fit. And I sat down and I fit, and it was like, oh wow, I fit. And the two people that were one on each side, they didn't complain, they didn't, so I was like, oh nice, okay. And then we went to another train, and there he didn't have to shove me. I was like, okay, all right. And my sister-in-law grabs me to sit next to her, and I did. And she looks at me and she says, you're not comfortable yet, huh? I'm like, well, no, it's just that I'm, it's hard for me to grasp where I can and can't sit still. And so then She says, "You're fine, you're fine." Now, I had not told her that I had the surgery, but she then says to me, "So, did you have the surgery?" And I said, "Yes, I did. I had the surgery." And she says, "So what's next? What surgery is next?" She was like so excited. I was under the impression my husband had told his whole family, but he was like, "No, I only told a couple of people." I was like, "Oh, okay." And she was like really excited about my upcoming surgery, and we talked about it, and she was excited about the bariatric surgery and telling me, "Have you followed this? Have you followed that? Because we want to make sure that you're okay." I was like, "Yeah." She's a doctor in her country, in Dominican Republic, so she knows very, very much about bariatric surgery. And this whole entire time that we're walking and walking and walking, changing trains and changing buses, I eventually stopped thinking about where I fit and whatnot. But I forgot to eat. I totally forgot to eat until my body said, "That's it." I started to feel a little bit nauseous. And so I said, I need to stop somewhere because we're doing all this walking and changing of trains and buses and sightseeing and whatnot. And I seriously need to eat. And so we stopped in a Subway, and I ate one of the roasted chicken, something like that, rotisserie chicken salads. And then my husband went and bought a Chick-fil-A, they don't call them shakes, Frosty, something like that. And I tried it. It was so sweet. And I told my husband, "I cannot drink this." He's like, "Oh, it's, don't be like that. Just drink some more." And I'm like, "No, seriously. I'll drink like a little bit more, but I really shouldn't have this because this is really, really sweet." So I took a couple of more sips and we're talking. And, oops. Okay. And I said to him, "Okay, that's enough. You have the rest." And he did. But it was a great trip. Everything was fun. Everything was exciting. So those were my NSVs, guys. I hope you enjoyed the clips that I put for the trip that I'm going to put to this, or that I already did. I'm not sure. So I'll check you guys out later. Bye.